Welcome to the show. It's not so often that we take a moment to sit and listen to an incredible story in its totality and give someone the time of day that they require to really express something as it happened. Some things that happen significantly are much greater than other things, and this is one of those things. Today we're fortunate to be joined by Dylan Reddering and hearing his story of being attacked by a great white shark. But before all of that, let me tell you what this is. This is Between Views, and I'm your host, Alec Koski. Today we'll be going on a journey, listening to Dylan Reddering describe his event from start to finish, all of the effects, the premonitions and after effects of what might happen if you're attacked by a great white shark, and the recount of his experience. We hope you enjoy. Alright, welcome to Between Views. Been trying to get this interview for a really long time, and finally I have managed to entrap my victim by means of one beer. And I have him comfortable on a couch, and the reason that I have my guest here today is because he has a story that he was under the impression that a lot of people don't have time to listen to full stories, and sometimes stories are so impactful that they deserve to be told in their full length. So when he started trying to tell me, I said, no, we should wait and we should record this so other people can hear what it really sounds like. Anyone who truly has the time can listen to this anytime, any place, as long as they have access to this podcast. Also, this person coming onto the show very quickly bonded with this guy through a few weeks at Camp Manitou, and realised that there are very like-minded people out there in the world, and it's been very refreshing, very calming just to be silly, have fun and play music alongside this fellow. So Dylan, thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Mr. Alec. Glad to be here.
So the story that we're going to share today is all Dylan's story. I might have some questions here and there, but I'm going to let him tell it in as much detail as he feels necessary, and how he recalls it and what it made him feel, what he's been through since, what it's done for him since then. And the story that we're telling today, our guest has actually been bitten by a great white shark, and he's going to recount that tale now.
Yeah, I think it's 8 years ago now. So I am from a small coastal town in South Africa. It's 6 hours down the coast southeast from Cape Town. It's called Plettenberg Bay. It's a very popular holiday destination town, big summer fun town, good waves, beautiful beaches, amazing nature surrounds, marine protected areas, just really blooming with life and culture and energy. And it was an amazing place to grow up. I mean, it was full freedom, after school boogie boarding, surfing, climbing trees, getting up to all sorts of adventures, and it was a privilege. And my father started surfing when he was 11, and he was the first person to ever live in Plet and start surfing, so he is the original surfer of Plet. He watched it grow and come up through the years, and part of the NSRI, and he's just a very recognized community member, and very respected member of the community, and he's a role model of mine. I looked up to him, and we're very close. He's one of my best friends, and he has an important part to play in the story, as you'll hear. But yeah, I grew up just absolutely loving the ocean in all shapes and forms, and he put me on a board first when I was about 4 or 5 years old, pushed the board in sideways into the wave of my first surf or second surf, and wave knocked the board back into my throat. And I was like, nah, that's it for me. I'm not surfing anymore.
Not the most ideal situation.
Yeah. And I took up boogie boarding, and I think there was a momentary wince from my dad, but for the next 2 years I was a boogie boarder, or bodyboarder, as they'll want me to call it. I think that was quite key in like my experience in the ocean, in getting comfortable, getting confident, just having flippers and like a smaller, spongier board, just being more comfortable. Learn how to ride and read waves, and eventually got bored of it, just little spins and things, and got back on the surfboard. And yeah, I just started charging. My dad, very good surfer, and we just surfed as much as possible, and he'd sometimes pull me out of school when the waves were good, and really, really huge part of my childhood was being in the ocean. And that got me into surf coaching. When I was 15, I first started as a container boy, is what we call it, just sweeping the container, washing wetsuits. But very quickly got into like assisting the lead instructors, just sort of watching them, almost like an apprenticeship. And yeah, when I was 16, I was leading my first surf lessons, coaching surfing, and have been doing it ever since. So almost 12 years now. And another passion of mine is really sharing that passion of mine to other people and giving them the gift of enjoying the ocean, riding waves, and just experiencing that joy and that thrill and that connection. And so, yeah, fast forward 2016, I was 2015, shucks, don't even know the date of it now, but I was 20 years old, and yeah, it was 2013 I finished high school, 2014 I was sailing, 2015 I started my first year of university at the University of Cape Town. So left Plet, went up to the big city, started university there, had my first semester.
What were you studying?
My first degree, so went through. I started with a triple major in politics, philosophy, and economics. Yeah, PPE. I was kind of pushed into it with a bit of like brainwashing that it was the degree to have, just full all-rounded, which makes sense. Like to just have a triple major in those things is like quite powerful, impactful, quite desirable for people who are hiring. It's quite versatile in a way. But yeah, I mean, first year varsity is always a bit of a piss up, right? It's just mostly a party, and we had 8 a.m. statistics. Like, I really didn't connect with it, and I was slowly questioning it already. Doing a shift in degrees, and winter holidays, sort of first semester over. Went back home to Plet, so sort of May, June. Coming into June, which is the beginning, well, I'd say actually sort of now midwinter in South Africa. And Plet, to give some context, Plettenberg Bay is a bay. It's got a peninsula called Robberg Peninsula.
I learned that means seal mountain.
Yeah, Robberg, it's a Dutch word.
And then I realized that an iceberg is just an ice mountain.
Yes.
And I was blown away.
So the word berg comes from probably a few languages, but in Dutch, berg, which means mountain. Everything with berg is mountains.
Huge.
Yeah, so Robber in Dutch is seal, Robberberg, Robberg mountain. Yeah.
All seals are going to be called Robert from now on.
Rob.
Yeah.
I think if you listen close enough, that's probably the noise they make.
Yeah.
Rob. So Robberg, apt to its name, has a population now of about 7,000 seals, or 8,000 if I'm mistaken. Back in the day, I think it was a lot less, and it's a bit of a population bloom. There's like a bit of an ecosystem imbalance, and but very healthy marine life. So around Robberg is a marine protected area, and we have everything from whale carving in the right season to seals to dolphins from all sorts. We have occasional orcas, a lot of hammerheads, bronzies, bronze wader sharks, and of course great whites. It's a very popular destination for great whites because of the seal population, and very ideal setup for them, really. They just cruise up and down this peninsula that stretches 6 kilometers out. You've been there, right? Did you hike it when you were in South Africa? Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, I saw all the robs too.
Yeah, you saw robs?
Yeah.
There's many robs.
7,000.
But in wintertime, in the last 5-10 years in Plet, like, you're almost guaranteed to sight a great white walking the Robberg. Just looking down and cruising along up and down. And I mean, I've been on Robberg where I've sighted 5 or 6 different great white sharks just cruising up and down. So there's also been a bit of a population bloom in the last, I'd say, 5 or 10 years. And the reason as to why, I mean, that's a different discussion altogether, different debate. And the reality is there actually isn't enough research and information to provide an accurate answer. There's a lot of theories, opinions, and there is some research going on. Nat Geo pulled in for a few times filming stuff. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting ecosystem going on there. But it's a bit of a hotspot for whites, and more and more so in the last few years. So Plet is just quite a sharky little spot in winter. And I think as a surfer, you always know that, every time you step in the ocean and go for a surf, a swim, like, in the back of your mind, it's a reality. Even, it could be very far back, very subtle, but you're aware of the fact that you're stepping into.
Yeah, I was never truly comfortable down there.
Yeah. But I mean, all oceans really, right? Like,
yeah,
you're out of your comfort zone, so to speak. We're terrestrial animals, so technically.
Yeah.
So when you step into the ocean, you're sort of a little bit out of the but more lower down the food chain, like, really. Like, there's things like designed to be in there, and we're kind of adapting to it. We're designed to move and swim, but not as well as the other things, right? So, but yeah. You say you weren't that comfortable being down there?
Nah, I'm not sure why. Like, back home, I know there's sharks too.
Yeah.
The same types. We have the migrations, everything, but I'm not sure what it was about that peninsula. Like, Nexus was telling me so much about how often you see sharks there, and I was just, and he told me about you before I'd met you, and I was like, I don't know, man. And then he took me out at, like, super sharky spot.
Nature's Valley. Yeah. You've seen some big guys there.
Yeah, I was just waiting.
Yeah. It's my time.
Yeah.
But it's a very lively coastline. I mean, people do flock, track down as part of the whale coast, whale trail coast. And it's the first town in South Africa to be deemed a whale heritage site. So yeah, actually, just really prides itself on how healthy its marine life is. So yeah, jumping back, it was the 26th of June. I was on university holidays, and every time I go home, like, I fall back into just coaching. It's a nice, easy gig to just earn a little bit of bucks, be in the water, and obviously share my...
High five it.
It's always good timing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always good timing. If you're listening at home, have been doing high five at 5 for the last 2 years, you can set an alarm on your watch if you want to. It can be a community thing for the show. So if you are a listener of Between Views, set a little 5 o'clock alarm on your wristwatch, and you can join the high five at 5 community as you please.
I've heard it's a global movement now.
That's what I heard too.
I heard Richard Branson's jumping on board, a few big names.
Yeah, I saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson do one, I'm pretty sure.
I think he did it with Kevin Hart, but like completely just blew him backwards. It's like quite a big thing on the internet.
That's true.
I think YouTube that.
Anyway,
back to the story. So 26th of June 2015, I was giving a surf lesson in the afternoon, about 2:33ish in the afternoon. Our lessons ran about 2 hours. So, oh man, I remember that. Yeah, it's always interesting recalling the story back, because when you recall a story that's so impactful, you kind of like go virtual reality mode, right? You like everything. I mean, for me, this day was like quite visceral, so I can picture everything so clearly in my mind when I speak about this. But it's giving a lesson, beautiful afternoon, like winters in South Africa are something special. Like they really don't feel like winter most of the time. Like gorgeous sunny weather. That afternoon light when it like glistens down. So we're on the East Coast. And so when the sun sets, it's sort of shining upon the ocean, and afternoon sun like glistens like golden light across our waves and our ocean. And particular day, beautiful little offshore waves. Group I was giving was like a Dutch family, like pretty uncoordinated, but they were having fun just in the foamies, it was like a beginner lesson, and they were kind of happy on their own. I'd given them the instruction, I'd like given each person the individual little tweaks here and there and helped them push them onto waves, but for the most part they're like pretty independent. And like if you're a surf coach out there, like sometimes at a lesson you're just kind of standing there, just like little body surf, little duck under the wave, playing around. Yeah, it was pretty nice conditions. I was like just mind surfing, picture like little barrels, and I was like, kind of. And so lesson end was approaching, and I was getting a bit frothed because I was like, keen, I'm going to go for a surf. Lesson comes to an end, I wrap up with my students, but it's sort of like almost 5 o'clock, and in winter it's getting duskish, like there's not a lot of light left. So yeah, I didn't have my gear with me, so I rang up my boss, Clayton, and I said, hey man, can I grab a board and a wetsuit from the container and go for a surf? He said, yeah, cool. At that point in time, we had a really good sandbank at our local point, which was called Lookout Point. And just judging the conditions and everything from the surf lesson, I was like, cool, I think there's going to be some cooking waves at Lookout Point. So grabbed a board from the container, which was my boss's board, like his personal board, and a wetsuit, hopped on my scooter and like zipped off to Lookout Beach. And everywhere in Plet's not far. It's like a 5-minute drive to get to most places, 5-10 minute drive. So arrived there like maybe 15 minutes after wrapping up my lesson, and somehow the conditions went from like clean little offshore waves to like pretty wobbly onshore, like I don't know, it was just like there was such a big shift that happened all of a sudden, and it was like quite strange because I'd like just left this like golden light offshore clean little waves beachfront moment to like arriving at the point thinking it's going to be like waist high and just like reeling down the point offshore, and it was just like crumbly. And so I was a bit like sort of, scratch head moment, like what happened here, but there wasn't enough time to like shoot back in my mind. I just thought, fuck it, I swear on the show.
It's explicit now.
It's explicit now. You had a little E on that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Just ruined my kid friendliness. You might as well swear now.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I kind of just like thought, cool, I'm just going to jump in. And yeah, weather started to shift as well. Like some clouds started rolling in, like the afternoon kind of took a turn. Not in any major way, but definitely like went from golden light shining on the waves to like some clouds and some winds, and hopped in the water. There were some waves. It was like a little bit sectiony, and I paddled out. And so the board I grabbed, which will become significant to the story in a moment, but the board I grabbed was my boss's board, and my boss is about a 5'3", 5'4". If he ends up listening to this, he might disagree, but quite a large, well built, but like large, bigger belly type structure, and so he's got quite a bit of foam to his surfboards, and he's a shaper, and he had a little factory and everything in Plet, and he had come up with the surfboard model called the Chili Popper, which was a short, wide, fat skateboard type thing, and everyone in Plet had one because he was just raving. Like, he tried and tested it and then raved about it, and like everyone was like, "Oh, Clayton's on a rant," gave it to everyone, and everyone loved it. Everyone had a Chili Popper because it was this fast, skatey, loose, like crazy little board for when the waves were sort of subpar or small or whatever. So I had this little 5.0 Chili Popper, and super thick, wide. It's got like quite a wide diamond tail, quad fin setup, and jeez man, lightning fast. And it was the perfect board for that day, like having the conditions change. I was just like skating over sections and like just gliding through chop and just like little onshore like floaters, and just it was just like I was just having such a blast. And it was at one of those sessions where you're so connected, you're completely ecstatic with and overcome by the joy of surfing and riding waves and sharing waves with some guys. And so I was in this like sort of ecstatic, hyped up energy, and whistling, hooting, screaming after every wave, just like that joy that, everyone who is a surfer or is passionate, athlete or whatever it is, that they experience. There was a moment I paddled out to the back point. So there's like, the point had like two different sections. You could like wait for a big one out the back to roll all the way through, or pick up some insiders on the inside bank. And was mostly just surfing the inside bank the session. Thought I'd paddle out for a big one, and paddle out, sat for a while, and there were three other guys out, Wojtek, Adrian, and Lloyd Chapman, who's passed now, rest in peace. Waited a while, and I was taken aback by the clouds. Like, I was like, there was something going on in the sky, and it was like now dusk, like sunset, but the clouds had rolled in, and they'd create like patches, and like golden orange light was shining through these like dark grayish like cloud structures, and actually forming like some crazy like visions and like things and creatures in the clouds. And like I was like, "Hey guys, are you seeing this?" Like, wow, and they were like, "Yeah, not really," but I think I was just on one.
So you just totally hyped up.
Yeah, and like when I describe it to like people before, I'd say like it felt like I was in a little bit like a microdose of mushrooms or something. It was just like everything was just like so defined in the shapes I was seeing in the clouds. And there was one particular beast that I saw, and when I tell this part of the story to people, they think it's that part of the story that you kind of like what's the word, generate or
like exaggerate
to hype the story up a little bit. But I saw this beast in the clouds, and like there were two sort of gaps in the clouds where the sunset sort of shone through, and it was like orange eyes and the sort of gaping mouth with sort of teeth of some sort, and it was just like, it was like a beast. And I was tripped out. Like, it was beautiful, like I was in awe, but it was also like eerie. It's like black clouds with orange eyes and teeth, and it was just, whoa. But this is one of those days where you just, everything you're experiencing and seeing, it's just like enters into your being, and you're just completely in awe of it. And looking back now, full on premonition. Yeah, it's like there was messaging in those clouds. Whether I could have done something about it, I don't think so, but it was just, at least I believe that. And anyway, got a bit impatient waiting for the set, kind of paddled back in a little bit to pick up one of the insiders, picked up an insider, and like, you know, as it goes, as I sort of pulled off my insider, like there comes the set I've been waiting for, out back, you know.
Always happens.
Exactly. It's like
you get impatient.
Yeah.
A really good one comes.
Yeah.
Or your mates get it.
Yeah. Well, there's a spot called the Wreck, which is in the corner of Robberg.
And Nexus took me there.
Did he take you there? So it's like got a few peaks, and like sometimes, and I'm like just not patient, and I'm like sitting at one peak, I'm watching all the other peaks go off, and then I paddle over to like the next peak, and then like and nothing goes on. I look back, and then we're exactly where I was.
Every surfer can share that that problem.
Anyway, so of course I put off my little insider, I look out, and I just see like 2-3 lines rolling in from the back, and I just start scratching. Like I start scratching wide to hopefully pick off like halfway in the set, like try and grab it and ride it through, because by now it's getting dark, it's like time to go in, you know. It was like last wave kind of vibes, and so I just start scratching, and yeah, out of nowhere, just got absolutely T-boned, for lack of a better word.
Just like at the exact moment.
Yeah, as I was paddling out for that set, that's when I got hit, and it was a really powerful impact. Like I try and explain to people, like, I mean, I don't know what it is to be hit by a car, but like, fuck, I think that's what it would feel like. It was just like it must have come at me at like 20-30 kilometers an hour, which like it's fast.
It's fast when you're not moving.
When you're not moving and you get hit by something, and absolutely T-boned me, and like impact was huge. And so I'm lying down on I'm paddling, right? So the point, like, so I'm giving Alec a bit of a sort of visual here with my hands, but the point runs out with some rocks, and then like curves in with a little bay. I'm about here, and I got hit from the inside of the point, so not from like the outer ocean. Which,
it was coming back out kind of thing.
As I was paddling out, I got hit from, you know, my shore side, which, you know, looking back now, it's like you kind of like you can't tell, but it's interesting to like talk about like how that shark, like why it would have come around, you know. Anyway, but got hit from the shore side, and the nature of it, and this is what we've kind of come to agreement on, like, because no one saw it, I didn't see it happen, so to speak, like in terms of like how I was hit, but this is the most sort of logical, you know, assumption of how it hit me, based on the sort of bite marks in the bottom of the surfboard, and my scar, my actual injury. The bottom of the jaw, we reckon, hit the bottom of the surfboard first, in like a microsecond difference between like that and like that impact, like launching me into its top jaw as it was sort of like biting down, and like kind of that impact like launched me through its top teeth, like to its top jaw, and like that like ripped through just the top teeth, and then like out its mouth. So like the impact hit me into its top teeth, and then like ripped me through out of its mouth. And I landed in the water, and that initial hit, it's like a split second reaction time of like my body knew what happened. And like your mind kind of lags a bit and like delays to catch up, but like immediately your body knows what happened. It just goes into survival mode, you know, like this is adrenaline pumped, fight or flight, like survival mode. It knew what happened, and then it took over. Like it, and I mean, anyone who's had some sort of traumatic experience knows what I'm talking about. And almost out of body experience, body took over, and I remember like almost watching this in slow motion, like the whole thing play out, even though it happens in like a couple of seconds, you know, like time slows down. I remember grabbing my surfboard, like pulled the leash, grabbed my surfboard by the rails, and like I remember like pulling it in front of my chest, like ready to use it as a shield. It's like, fuck it, this thing's coming back. Like,
so you're already like cut up and bleeding by this point.
Yeah, I'd been hit. Like, this is I didn't know the nature of the injury.
Could you still swim with your leg?
Yeah. I couldn't really feel at that point. I was treading water.
Right. It was like shock mode.
It was just shock mode.
Feel anything.
So like, I couldn't feel anything. I was treading water, if that answers your question.
So you didn't, but like even when it hit, did you feel like an intense pain, or it just shut down your pain? It was like the adrenaline was too much.
The impact was like very felt, but in terms of the injury, no, it was like, like a growing pain. Did you ever, like your mom ever tell you about like a growing, you had those like searing little pulses in your body somewhere? Kind of felt like that. The body's an amazing thing. Like the adrenaline took over. I barely felt it. So because of that, like I didn't really know the nature or extent of the injury. For all I knew, maybe it was just a bump, like a hard hit, but it could have just been a hit, right? But I just grabbed the board in front of my chest, like ready to use as a shield. Not that I think,
Worked.
And then I just started kicking frantically. Like if this thing was around me, like I wanted to land a kick,
on its
nose or something. Just. Now, if you recall, I'd been paddling out for a set wave. That wave had now broken, and that white water was now rolling towards me. And just as it came, the board that was already in front of my chest just rolled over onto it, took the wave, like caught the wave in on my stomach. And it was a set wave. It was like a lot of power in it.
And that can be hard to hold on to.
Yeah, it can be hard sometimes to hold on to. It like kind of like washed around a little bit, but like got shut out and then like stabilized. And that's when I looked back and actually saw the injury for the first time. And it was like,
when you were riding?
When I was on my stomach riding the wave in, I turned around and looked at my leg and just saw my whole thigh and buttocks lacerated, like gashed open, just like fully spread, like the blood, the muscle, fat.
Oh man.
So that was the first time I saw the extent of my injury, of the nature of the wound. And it's pretty gnarly when you see your own leg, or I guess a limb of yours like that, just like cut up.
Do you think you were going to die?
So this is the interesting thing, is no. But I think that was an intuitive feeling. I think my body registered that like no major artery had been hit, and my leg was still there. First off, the gash was gnarly. The wetsuit was kind of like, I think, minimizing like some of the blood out, like flow.
Was your wetsuit ripped off or anything, or no? Just
gashed through.
Yeah, same as your leg.
Yeah,
basically.
Right. Just the rip that I have in my leg was like through the wetsuit. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a bit like unnerving to see like your whole leg just like cut completely open and like split, and just muscle and tendons and like blood. That being said, it wasn't like a long look. Like I'm also riding a wave into shore, so it was like a glance back, like holy shit. But intuitively, I think I registered that my leg was still there visually, but like I could feel my artery wasn't hit. Like my body knew that. And for that reason, there was never a fear at any point in this whole experience that I felt like I'd lose my life, which I think changed and affected how I experienced the rest of the story that will recount now. But I can imagine if you're unsure and you think your life might be threatened, how much scarier it could be. But I think I had quite a strong intuitive sense that I was going to live through this. So that, I think, within the shock brought some level of calm, or some level of like, okay, this is gnarly, but it's okay, it's fine, So ride this wave in, and of course, a nice little rip current is running parallel to the beach and then along the rocks out the point, which is what forms like a little bit of the sandbank, right? Is this like channel of current that runs along the beach, out along the rocks, and just pulls sand and dumps sand to actually form the sandbank that we surf at the point. So ride this wave in on my stomach, hit this rip current, the wave fades. The shore is like a few meters in front of me, but this current's quite strong. It's a draining low tide. I'm like paddling and just like being pulled back and pulled away from shore. You know, and like being pulled back and just not getting to shore. And it's like right there. And it's like a bit frustrating and like a little bit panicked almost in a way. It's like, because I'm like, cool, I could get to safety. I need to get in, but now I can't. And I'm being sucked back.
You don't know where Mister is.
Yeah.
You're bleeding. You've got a trail of the food.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, literally.
So what I left out was as I was riding the wave in, a buddy of ours, Wojtek, he was sort of paddling out. I think like he maybe either like took a wave and ran around the point and like jumped back in to paddle back out, or he like fell on a wave and was like paddling back out on the inside. And as I was riding that wave in, I turned to him and we locked eyes, and I can't remember exactly what I said. If I screamed like help or help me, or I remember screaming something. I don't think he heard me, but I think he saw the look on my face. And I think he's like, something's up. So I think speaking to him down the line, he also is like, dude, I saw the look on your face. I like instinctively knew something was up. I just decided straight away to come over. And he was the first one to come in behind me. And so he paddled in, like we're now in the rip. I'm still in the rip. He comes in behind me, and I'm not sure if at this point he's seen the wound or not, but he can see I'm trying to get to shore, and then I think he realizes that something's really wrong, and I'm not able to get to shore on my own, so he starts pushing me. And then by this time the other surfers had clocked on. And to just jump back in the story, after the impact, and I think I'd grabbed the board, like within those few seconds of that happening, I screamed. I screamed loud. Like, I can't remember what I screamed, but I screamed. And chatting to the guys, you know, afterwards, they said, yeah, we heard you screaming, but you'd been screaming all session. Like, you know, we didn't think like, we thought you just had another cooking wave, you know. Literally.
One of those days.
Yeah, one of those days. And I always thought that was quite funny. But eventually the other surfers, Lloyd and Adrian, clocked on, and Adrian came in behind with Wojtek, and Lloyd had beached himself and ran around the beach to come and sort of collect me from shoreside. And so Adrian, myself, and Wojtek, they're behind me trying to like push me, and I think now they've seen the wound and they realize this is gnarly and like we need to get to shore like ASAP. But we're fucking all in the currents being pulled, and we get pulled into a rock, which
also they all swim into the current to help you.
Yeah, they all paddled into the current to help me.
Great.
Now we're all in the current.
Yeah.
Look, and it's not like that big of a current, but it was strong enough that it was just pulling us back.
I think anyone would do the same.
Yeah.
Go straight over and see if you can figure it out together.
Yeah. We got washed into this rock, and I think Adrian and Wojtek, or one or both, they just like planted their feet against the rock and then just like launched me, used it as like a launching pad, and just like launched me forward and just like shot me towards the beach. Lloyd came in, grabbed my arms and pulled me up the beach. So yeah, I guess it kind of helped being pushed into the rock. So Lloyd came in, pulled me up the beach, and Wojtek and Adrian came up, and by this time I think there's a parking lot, you know, the whale tail parking lot at the top there. By this time I think a few people had clocked on there was something going on. I think like there was like movement. And
Nexus told me he was there the same day. He apparently called on to the guards or something.
Really?
I'm pretty sure he said that. He's just come down the beach and he called to the guard to come down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always curious to hear other people's like stories of like, you know, where they were.
Could you stand up?
No.
It was, yeah.
No way. So they pulled me up.
So
the
you
beach.
lost function of that leg, basically.
Yeah, completely. And it was lacerated like almost to the artery, like my whole thigh, my glute was just completely lacerated open.
So it was just kind of hanging there.
Yeah. I think it was a good time to show you a photo. Or
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Just to give you an idea.
Go ahead.
Just so that you can have a look.
Oh.
So
that's not good. Whoa, I've actually never looked at your scar now, but do you still have those like 3 scratch
kind of. The scars healed very well.
It did heal well?
It's healed very well.
Are you kind of bummed?
A little bit. That's why I wear Speedo all the time.
I would like at least those 3.
Yeah, that's why I wear Speedo all the time.
Yeah. I would like at least those 3 scratch ones. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, my leg was not in functioning capacity.
Man.
So I was lying on the beach, and Adrian and Wojtek are now their first aid mindset. Like, what do we do? Okay, cool. Let's get like, do we have towels? Do we have this? Like, and then someone said, use your leash as a tourniquet. Like a lot of this stuff I don't remember, but I was told by other people who were there and Lloyd.
So you just weren't remembering anything that was unfolding.
You kind of out of body experience. Like it was almost like the whole thing becomes a dream. You're like there, but it's distant, but it's times a bit slower for you, and you're in shock. So like subtle, smaller details. Yeah, I don't remember that well.
Was it hurting at this point?
No, still just
really
light searing pain. Yeah.
Well, but he did. Yeah, pain. He had pain.
It's a very light. It's like a light searing pain. Yeah, like a growing pain, like I was explaiing earlier.
Yeah. Shock was taken care of.
Shock was taken care of. It's good medicine, man.
Yeah, great. Where can I get some of that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
It's a good shot of trauma.
Oh, my God. Anyway.
So, Lloyd, someone asked Lloyd to grab his leash off his board for a tourniquet, and he was like, "Oh no, this is a new leash." He didn't want to give his leash.
What a dirtbag.
Nah, but I mean, knowing Lloyd like that, it was funny.
Yeah.
No, he gave his leash. He gave it. No, he gave his leash. No, he's not a dirtbag.
He's fine.
He made like a funny
Lloyd's
comment
cool,
in the moment.
I'm cool with Lloyd.
So I can't remember who tied it, but like they tied the leash around my leg as a tourniquet, and eventually now a few guys from the top had come down. Peter Boshoff, who put his beanie on me, and like I think as an onlooker looking down, like you're seeing the surfer on the beach with his like whole fine butt like lacerated open. You're thinking worst case scenario. You're thinking like, is this going to be?
I would just, if I saw that, I'd be like, oh my God, this dude's going to die.
Yeah.
To try and
literally
help him.
But from my perspective, I'd had this sort of intuitive realization now beforehand while riding the wave that I'm okay. So I was relatively calm in the shock. It's a bit of a strange combo there, but kind of watching this whole scene play out, right?
Everyone's freaking
out, and like one guy's like, stay awake, and I'm kind of like, I'm awake. I'm not like falling asleep. Peter's trying to tell me jokes about like how the scars are going to get me so many chicks, and like he's like trying to just like keep me awake by like telling me like you're gonna be a chick magnet. You're gonna be, Did
it work?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a time when the joke was like, I would drop my pants, and then the girls would drop theirs.
Yeah. It's a fair trade.
Yeah.
It's a fair trade.
Yeah.
All right.
It was a moment in time. It's still my party trick when I feel like I'm in the mood. Yeah,
maybe I should get one of these.
Yeah, you should go. Actually, a little side quest here. A friend of mine who's not a good swimmer, doesn't surf, doesn't swim much, went and bought like a cheap little ragged tooth shark necklace from like a curio shop. And he'd go out in like the local little bar and club and tell girls that the shark he's wearing around his neck was the shark that he pulled out of my leg after saving me.
He's the real.
Oh my! And he used to bring the girls over to me.
Lloyd looks like an angel.
He used to bring girls over to me to like confirm the story. I just had to be that wingman to be like, he saved me.
That's a bigger tragedy than
I'm gonna hook a brother up sometime.
No.
Anyway.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of 2 of our interviews with Dylan. In part 2, we'll dive into the aftermath of Dylan's attack and how a moment like this reshapes a person and fuels them with wisdom, and also how sharks can become a mentor, or any creatures for that matter. This will release next Monday. Next, if you're one of our regular listeners, or even if you're new here, I'd like to invite you to leave a star rating for us on Spotify or Apple Music. This genuinely helps us to get discovered by new listeners and would be epic if you could help us out. Or if you really found the information valuable, you are welcome to make an offer of a scrumptious cup of Make More Podcast juice at buymeacoffee.com/betweenviews. In other news, Between Views is always looking for collaborators. If you want to join the team or create something together, then please reach out on Instagram. Finally, if you know someone who deserves to be interviewed or just have some feedback, then send us an email at betweenviewsbv@gmail.com or message us on Instagram. Thanks again and see you soon.